back in 2023. A revamped O-line and big paydays to their stars has head coach Dan Campbell confident that Detroit's championship window is still open. He told ESPN's Eric Woodyard, quote, "Our window is not closed. It's not closed. That was the whole reason why we did this. We fell short last year, but we needed to get in the playoffs. And now it's about the matchups, where you're playing and who you're playing. The Lions are the favorites to win the NFC North and have the fifth shortest odds to win the conference," which is kind of interesting because Green Bay Packers are ahead of them, even though that the Lions are picked to win the division. But nonetheless, Jordan, is the Lions Super Bowl window closed in your eyes?
No. I think the door is cracked slightly. I don't think it's wide open like it used to. I think they lost a little bit of the magic or the edge they had, which was the physicality and the mentality they had up front. And now, granted, they've had injuries. They're moving things around. Penei Sewell's flipping sides. Blake Miller's a guy they need to emerge on the right side. Like, if they can get back to that, your window is never closed when you have a quarterback that can be a top 10 quarterback. You have a top 5 wide receiver in Amon-Ra St. Brown. You have one of the best running backs in the league in Jahmyr Gibbs. Like, you have top-tier weapons at places that matter. Yeah. So your window's never going to be closed, but their magic sauce was that physicality and the mentality that they had, and they didn't have that last year. They can channel some of that. They're still in the mix.
Aaron, how do you see it?
It's close to me. I mean, your best opportunity to win was when you had Ben Johnson, Aaron Glenn as your coordinators. I think Dan Campbell's more of a game manager motivator than he is a play caller. And I think you lose that, and I think you saw the impact of that. And now the division's getting so much better. I think timing is why I think it's close. The Green Bay Packers are going to be better and healthier. You're going to have the Chicago Bears team where Caleb Williams continues to rise. And what happens if Kyler Murray figures it out? That's just your division. That's not talking about having the two best teams in the NFL in the Seattle Seahawks and obviously the Los Angeles Rams. So I think timing matters in this to me. I think they had their better opportunity in past seasons. It's going to be a lot harder moving forward to try to get to a Super Bowl.
I disagree with basically everything you just said, Myron.
I appreciate that.
So let's start here. I don't think that Dan Campbell is a game manager or a CEO or anything like that. I think because the way he looks, he gets characterized sometimes as a guy who's a vibes guy or a toughness guy. He's a genius. He is an absolute genius. And I've sat down and I've talked to him and I said something, hey, you go for it on fourth down. Why? It's not some manly tough guy thing. It's because he worked for Sean Payton and he used to see the fear that the other sideline had when Sean Payton would not only go for it on fourth down, but he would take a shot. He would do a play action 40-yard bomb on fourth down and he'd say, I want to do that. Everything is thought out in Detroit. And then you add in the roster talent. Your window can't be closed with this many blue chip players. 2 guys on the outside at receiver. Jared Goff, who I think is probably the most underrated quarterback in football. Jahmyr Gibbs, Aiden Hutchinson. Obviously, you lose Cade Mays, the center, to a wrist injury for a couple weeks. We'll see what happens there. But the offensive line is rebuilt. It's wide open. It is wide open. And also, I also think that the whole conversation about Super Bowl windows is crazy. This time last year, you'd have gotten laughed out of the building if you said the Seahawks Super Bowl window was open. You don't know until you see the talent on the field. We will see the talent on the field in September. Lions are real good this year.
I've seen it already.
I'm going to let my gentleman to the left respond.
Well, I've seen it already. So to me, I think they've been in a better situation in past years when you had better coordinators and Aaron Glenn and Ben Johnson. I don't think he's just a motivator. I worked the sidelines for ESPN at a Lions-Vikings game. I was up close to Dan Campbell. He has a gift for getting guys to rally around him in crucial moments. Like, I don't think that's fake at all. But when you lose 2 of the better coordinators, I don't know how you get better. And Jared Goff isn't Rudy. This is a guy who should be a top 10 quarterback, but get your team in the playoffs if that's what you are. We hold everybody to a different standard when we say you're an elite quarterback and what the results have to be. With Jared Goff, we say he's elite, but that's where it stops. And that conversation can't stop just because he's a good quarterback. Where are the results? It's going to be harder to get those this season.
Because the NFC North is loaded. I mean, you've got the Vikings winning the NFC North, so it could apparently be anybody's division. The North is loaded. The conference is loaded. So how does that affect the Super Bowl window for the Lions?
Well, look, it is loaded, but it's loaded because the Lions in it too. Like, I think we sometimes we talking about one team, so we eliminate them. The Lions matter in the NFC as well. And I disagree with Myron because this, for me, is about Brian Branch and Kirby Joseph.
Yep.
If they available, this team will be as good as anybody in their division, and they'll be able to compete with anybody in their division. Now, I think right now the Los Angeles Rams sit at the cusp of that team where you feel most comfortable saying if they are healthy throughout the rest of the season, they probably are going to be the Super Bowl representatives. But to say the window is closed in Detroit, to me, is sometimes how soon we forget. This team couldn't sniff a win 3 years ago, right? Like, they execute at a very high level still. They still are a team that is formidable for anybody that they play against. It comes down to what you said, though. It's about Jared Goff and health. Like, I think health derailed this team from having a chance to play for a Super Bowl as they got down the stretch with Aiden being out and trying to figure out guys are coming back. We were up there for a Monday night game where the whole secondary was hurt, and they competed against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers to the end. So I don't think that the window is closed. I think it's gotten harder, but I don't think their window is closed. I think when you step on the field with the Detroit Lions, whether you're the Minnesota Vikings or the Green Bay Packers, you better bring, or the Chicago Bears, you better bring your lunch pail. One, it is going to be physical. Sometimes physicality get misconstrued because it's not as explosive as we've grown accustomed to. They still were a physical football team last year. They still wanted to get after you up front. They suffered injuries. But these two pieces that I talked about with Brian Branch and Kirby Joseph, if they are available, which is dicey, but if they are available, this team is square in the middle of the NFC and they going to make some noise.
And I think we're having this conversation in part because of what we think of the division, right? We've all talked about this, but I do think we confuse this division a little bit with like a murderer's row. This ain't the NFC West. This ain't Seattle and Rams sitting in your division. And I agree, every team has a lot of potential, but there's a lot of question marks with the Bears, how they won a lot of games, the turnovers that they were able to force, the close games that you saw miraculous plays by Caleb Williams. Maybe not quite sustainable. Not saying they're going to take a big step back, but also the Packers, right? A lot of potential. They've had so many injuries around Jordan Love. I think there's equally question marks for all these other teams that were kind of just saying, yeah, but everybody's better, so I guess the Lions can't do it.
Yeah, Kevin mentioned something. You called Jared Goff underrated, and even in a down year for the Lions, this guy still threw for 4,500 yards last year. How do you react to that? Is he underrated?
Underrated because of what Kev said, and I got to give him a lot of credit. It's because Sean McVay decided to get off of him. Like, there are 16, 17 teams that would kill to have Jared Goff right now in the NFL. And he's played at a high enough level that we see. The one thing I don't think happens for Jared Goff, the criticism is not as strong when he doesn't perform. That's another, I think, so it's kind of like that guy that's like in the room, and we know he's solid, but when he mess up, everybody like, it don't really matter that much.
Well, probably because he was discarded at one point. So you kind of say, okay.
It may have given him a little bit of freedom to fly under the radar when it's bad. But you can win. Like, we all sitting here at this desk would be lying if we didn't think you could win a championship with Jared Goff playing at a high level.
Yeah. I mean, they got to a Super Bowl with him in
it. Yeah. And if they were healthy, to your point, 2 years ago, I think they would have won the Super Bowl.
Yeah, they were there. Yeah. They were there.
Is he underrated in your eyes?
No, he's
properly rated.
Well, he's America's underdog. Like, I think because of what you just mentioned, because anybody who's discarded. I mean, Jalen Hurts had that in college when it happened at Alabama.
Yes.
Anyone who's kind of put to the side, we go, wait a minute, you kind of root for that dude.
Yeah.
And Jared Goff is an easy guy to root for. But I feel like we don't attach it to results enough.
We don't.
I think most people see Jared Goff and think he's a top 10-ish quarterback, if you polled most people. But where are the results? We just talked about Joe Burrow having to show up and get it done. We've been talking about Kyler Murray. If you're an elite quarterback, get it done. Every other quarterback, we put that on their shoulders. With Jared Goff, we say, well, wait a minute.